I can tell you that something big is definitely in the works right now. And obviously, we've known something is going on, but it's usually things that happen behind the scenes. And it seems to be bubbling to the surface again, as it has just a few times in the past. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is an interview clip that I saw of Devin Nunes, where he mentioned that House Intelligence Committee Republicans asked Trump to remove redactions from at least 20 specific pages of the FISA application regarding Clinton paying for the dossier to obtain the FISA warrant to start spying on Trump campaign officials, even though, of course, they were spying well before they obtained a warrant. But the interesting part that really arises out of this is that Rod Rosenstein is the one who signed off on it. I mean, this is exactly why there's the move to impeach him. And Paul Ryan needs to sack up and realize that Rosenstein and Mueller both need to go. And it's also worth noting that the House Judiciary Committee and the Government Oversight and Reform Committee got commitments last Friday that documents will be provided this week concerning Rosenstein's impeachment. And I mean, they're expecting to see those documents this week, but we'll have to see. And I guess another good sign is that throughout August, several interviews and depositions will be conducted in D.C. concerning the House Intelligence Committee investigations. These interviews and depositions are crucial because they'll be getting these interviews and depositions at a time when the DOJ and FBI are trying to stall the investigations and the redactions. And it's basically because midterm elections are going to come up and then Democrats could retake the House and just shut everything down. I mean, if that happened, Rosenstein would never be held in contempt. The FBI would continue to operate in a completely unaccountable manner. I mean, all useful investigations would come to a halt. So this is an important election as far as deciding what direction the sanctity of our intel agencies and faith in our justice system will go. Not that the Republicans are necessarily the ones that'll take us to the finish line, because there's plenty of rhinos, but at least the chance to save what we've worked for up to this point is still alive. And it doesn't help that the DOJ has hid evidence and obstructed oversight, even going so far as to deny multiple congressional subpoenas. I mean, this isn't what faith in our government agencies is supposed to look like. And the FBI accepting a private company's version of the DNC server hack isn't what a trustworthy intel agency looks like. But let us not forget Huber, the special prosecutor from Utah that's been appointed to further investigate the IG report findings. I mean, he has more power and can work more efficiently than a special counsel. So that's good. And on top of that, he has plenty of people working under him to get the job done. I believe it's 470 people. So, I mean, that should give you some idea of the breadth of this investigation. And on top of all of this, Lisa Page gave her testimony, and it was a little over a week ago, but it's still worth following up on. Page was able to answer a lot more than Strzok was, and she commented on the Clinton investigation, the Mueller investigation, the text messages, and they also didn't get the smug attitude that they saw from Strzok. But in many cases, Page said that the text messages mean exactly what they say. So it'll be interesting to see how they proceed forward with this. I mean, there are multiple instances where the bias of these FBI agents affected the decisions that they made concerning investigations that they were a key part of. So it would be nothing short of a disgrace to not investigate how far their bias may have acted as inspiring corruption, and to not investigate the matters of the investigations that were mishandled as a result of that bias. So another thing to keep an eye on is that Trump is poised to take control of the Federal Reserve. And that's good, because the Federal Reserve is a corrupt institution just robbing the people blind by standardizing a fiat currency. I mean, Trump has openly complained about the Reserve's interest rates hurting the economy. And luckily, he has 4 vacancies to fill on the Board of Governors at the Federal Reserve. So he can really work to institute his own people and reform the Federal Reserve, by which, I mean, hopefully start its downward trend to obsolescence. I mean, as it stands now, the Federal Reserve can raise interest rates to damage economic growth, and they have a fairly tight grasp on national regulations. Now, Trump has already instituted 2 people to the Board of Governors, of which there's 7 seats available. So now 3 seats are filled, and 2 other people are awaiting confirmation by the Senate, and then Trump will have to name 2 more people to get the full 7. So 6 of the 7 people on the Board of Governors will be selected by Trump. And that's good because now they can work towards deregulation, because after the Dodd-Frank Act passed in 2010, the Federal Reserve was given huge amounts of control over the banking industry, regulating how much had to be invested in federal funds, how big a bank could be, even though, of course, big is bad, but the free market handles that, all the way up to how much they could pay in dividends to investors. I mean, this has massively slowed bank investments in the economy, and it's been especially crippling for the housing market. So Trump is perhaps taking control of the most regulative and restrictive government agency, and seeing as he's much more of a free market capitalist than any recent president, I can't say that I'm the least bit disappointed in this at all. And since the dollar is a fiat currency, the value of it's backed by the government. What happens if the government collapses? Well, the dollar collapses. So as I said earlier, working the Federal Reserve towards just being obsolete seems to be the best pathway forward. Now, there's a couple more stories that I want to touch on in this video, and one is the supposed missile launch over Whidbey Island back on June 10th. And then also on June 10th, Michael Avenatti, Stormy Daniels' lawyer, posted, "This week promises to be very interesting," with a picture of a target over a plane. And then again, same day, John Brennan says, "To allies and friends, Trump is a temporary aberration. The America you once knew will return." And he doesn't mean that in a good way. He means that in a deep state will always rule kind of way. And that missile launch was supposedly debunked as being a light on a helicopter, but I'm incredibly skeptical of that, because although I can't prove it was a missile launch, and there's very few people who actually could, it's worth pointing out that 2 days later, Q posted a picture from Alaska, and there seems to be some connection, although it's unclear what it is. It looks like either a missile exploding or something. So there was also hinting around the fact that this was a missile launched from a submarine that was hacked, because they don't have the capabilities for large-scale missile launches on Whidbey Island. And with Brennan and Avenatti both writing ominous messages on the same day that this missile launched, it's easy to speculate that this could have been some type of deep state assassination attempt or something like that. Now, the second to last story that I want to touch on, I know there's a lot, but there's a lot to report on. Claire Bronfman has been released on a $100 million bond concerning her arrest over the NXIVM sex cult. This happened like a week ago. Bronfman was involved with financing and supporting Keith Rainier, who I've discussed on the channel before. He was basically running the show at NXIVM with some other people, and the entirety of the mainstream media during their very sparse coverage of this story, they've decided to completely ignore the fact that they were also trafficking children for the sex cult. And it took me a little while to confirm that, but court documents show that it's true. So now every story that comes out about this, the child trafficking needs to be in the back of your mind. And then on top of this, it's worth pointing out that Joshua Adam Schultz has been charged with a litany of crimes, including receipt and transmission of child pornography. And you know who Joshua Schultz is? He's the guy who leaked the CIA Vault 7 documents to WikiLeaks. So it seems awfully sketchy to have the FBI raid his apartment over the leaks to WikiLeaks and find all of this child pornography. And the reason that I say that is because the FBI has planted evidence before. And the CIA would, of course, work arduously to destroy anyone who leaks their classified information. But digging into Schultz's online persona, it starts to make sense. He's not careful, he's not mature. How he got into the CIA is an absolute mystery to me, because even if the CIA was interested in child trafficking, which they are, they wouldn't use someone as careless as Schultz. But, I mean, we can say Hitler was an exceptional painter without thinking that everything he did was great. And it's the same thing with Schultz. Leaking to WikiLeaks, it was great, because the CIA needs to have so little power that it doesn't matter what gets leaked. But at the same time, I'll say it's possible he was involved with child pornography, and that's disgusting. And if it's true, he deserves to be locked up forever. So This is really all that I have to report on today, but there's definitely something big in the works. The media distractions and attacks are coming stronger and stronger every week, and sometimes it seems even every day. So thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate the support, and I'll be back here likely tomorrow,